You're listening to the Thriving Mindfully podcast. I'm Ananda Leeke, your Thriving Mindfully coach and podcast host. I'm also an artist, an author, a human design doula, and an interfaith reverend. The Thriving Mindfully podcast is a heart-centered, digital sacred space that I created to inspire and empower you to be present, well, and the real you. Tune into the latest conversation I've been having with myself and others about nurturing, transforming, and celebrating our lives, relationships, and career. Hey everybody, it's Ananda Leeke here with the Thriving Mindfully podcast, and today we have a special series that we're kicking off. It is called Spice Up Your Life with Human Design, and I'm talking to some of my favorite people like my soul brother love, Garnet Jackson, a writer, an MC, a producer, a workshop leader, a youth advocate, among many things. He is Jamaican-born. London is his home right now, and he is always in the blue zone, y'all. How are you, Garnet Jackson?
How could I be anything more than amazing after an introduction like that? I'm great.
All right. Well, it's great to have you.
How are you?
I'm fabulous. I'm wearing my blue glasses. I'm in my chakra color. What is it? Chakra castle kitchen. I had to get that right. You know, so many things. And just enjoying the opportunity to be able to share with the world what I have been blessed to have with you, some juicy conversations about who you are from the inside out, the real you, and how you have, as a creative, been able to tap into this technology, this tool called human design. But before we do that, I want you to tell folks who you are in your own words, as well as some of the things that you've been doing on Instagram on a regular basis. All right, y'all, this is my homeboy from MySpace, who has become my soul brother since 2005, 2006. So we've been connected an awfully long time. And I'm going to let him go from there.
Okay, so I'm Garnet Jackson, man in the world, child of the universe. And some of the things I do, you know, I produce. I'm a producer, I'm a beat maker, I'm an MC, I'm a writer. I also work with young people in various capacities to do with creative expression, whether that be writing or music expression, music production, and also in formal education, you know, in additional learning support. There we go. Oh, my bad. So one of the things that I do, my regulars on Instagram, I have a live each Sunday, 6:30 p.m. UK time, called The Blue Zone. And in The Blue Zone, myself and one of my musical collaborators, Mr. Stuart George, together we are Jackson George. And we have an album in the works, you know, and every Sunday we check in with each other and we shoot the breeze. And we talk about all things to do with life, spirituality, our journey, you know, music, the whole night. And yeah, that's pretty much it brings us up to date.
Okay, where can people find you online? On Instagram as well as on SoundCloud? I'm blasting you today.
So on Instagram, it's Quantum Quantum, Quarantino, like Quentin Quarantino. So that's my Instagram. And I'm also on SoundCloud. You can find some music on SoundCloud on the Garnet J. That's Garnet, GarnetJay.
All right. Thank you, sir, for sharing so deeply with us. That's an inside joke with us, y'all. Well, we have been on this journey together since we first met in 2005, 2006, and meeting in person for the first time in London in 2007. Shout out to my cousin Sharon, because she was on that journey with us when we met up.
Big up, Big Sean.
And ever since I met you, one of the things that I appreciate and I value and I love is your ability to go deeper into yourself when you're called to, and to utilize a buffet of tools, from shifting your diet to what you do with your body in terms of yoga and other physical fitness, to what you are putting into your spirit and your heart and your mind, to this thing called human design. So tell everybody in your own words, because one of the things that I'm hoping that this series will do is that it will encourage people to explore these tools on their own terms and to define it for themselves. It's beautiful when people define it for us, to give us a way of looking at it. But until we embrace it and embody it ourselves and make it our own and use what works best for ourselves, it really doesn't, for me, it doesn't do anything until I own it. So tell folks, what is human design in your words?
Human design. To me, human design is like a manual for being on an energetic level. And that about sums it up for me. Like, human design came along, and I always make the comparison with astrology. Like, a lot of astrology goes over my head in terms of the terminology and some of the concepts. And it feels very ethereal in many ways. And human design feels just way more pragmatic for me, you know? And yeah, it just feels like, oh, there's a manual for the way we're supposed to operate. Oh, cool. And I, dived into it. So yeah, that's what it is to me.
I love that. I love that you said it's a manual for being. And in that manual of being, when did it show up for you in your life? Like, in your journey, when did this human design journey begin for you, where you became aware of the manual and you started reading it and reading material about it and exploring it in your own life?
Okay. I had like a brief dalliance with it like years ago, maybe 8 or so years ago. And I didn't deep dive. I kind of skimmed, and I guess it just wasn't the time yet. But like many people during the lockdown, you had, it gave us a lot of time, you know what I mean? And during lockdown, I came across this interview with Marilyn Fontaine, who's an amazing coach over here in London. And I saw this interview with her, and she was talking about human design. And I kind of, it made something click in my mind, like, oh yeah, I remember that thing. I looked into that, but how she described it intrigued me. So I was like, okay, I definitely need to go back into that and check it out. So I went on a deep dive, and I found huge resonance, through the whole concept, and um, just lots of affirmation of things that I was feeling intuitively, things that I was aware of it in myself and kind of felt deep down. And then this was kind of like confirming, like, yeah, 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 that's right, that's correct. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's about 2 years ago during the lockdown that I really kind of took a deep dive.
Yeah, I remember that because we both have known Marilyn for quite some time, and
Mm-hmm.
you had taken one of her challenges and ended up getting you won a session with her.
Yes.
And it was during that time that I was really struggling in my own life,
Mm-hmm.
and was using therapy, but needed therapy for my business. And so
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to Marilyn because you had been saying, yeah, you got to check Marilyn out. And Marilyn was also an introduction for me into human design because she uses that in her coaching. And if you're looking for Marilyn on Instagram, go to MJ Fontaine and you can find all of her information, and I'll include her website in the show notes so you'll be able to reach out to her. She's, as Garnet has said, she's phenomenal, amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so as you were discovering and doing this deep dive, what started to percolate for you in terms of understanding your type, your authority, your strategy? What came up for you as you started looking at who am I through this lens?
Okay. So yeah, as I said in like previously, it was more a case of I didn't feel like it was telling me things that were new. It was just confirming and affirming things that I felt
Okay.
intuitively. And so things like I've never been like I've had a strong aversion to certain things, like the whole hustle and grind culture, which has been so dominant. Do you know what I'm saying? And it just never resonated with me. And then when I came across human design and I found out what my archetype was, which is a projector, I was like, okay, this makes a whole lot of sense, because everything it described about that archetype, it it described me to a T energetically, you know, in terms of um, waiting to be invited um, as a strategy. And that's something that I do naturally anyway. Like I never want to you know, impose myself on other people. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I hate when other people do it to me. So that's just something that I've always practiced. But this kind of embedded it on a deeper level. Like, yo, this is really legit. Like energetically, this is how you are supposed to move. And in life, there's a lot of times, I've dealt with a lot of self-doubt, and the things that I've felt intuitively, I've often questioned it and tried to get a rationale about it. And oftentimes that ends up with me talking myself out of these intuitive feelings, which have been guiding me. And so discovering human design just helped me to recognize that no, those are legit. Like you would do very well to accept that, you know, as your way of being, you know, your way of working. And yeah, like there's nothing more kind of, it's a very empowering thing. Do you know what I mean? Like you feel empowered now because it's like, oh, so it's like an internal validation.
Yes.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And that made a huge difference for me. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, yeah, what I feel is definitely it's on the right track for me. And doing like working that way will be the most beneficial for me. Because even like the thing about human design, when I talk about the pragmatism of it, it goes down to things like the energy, the energetic types, and how much rest I might need as a projector. And I was already starting to feel that intuitively. I was like, man, like when I go to bed at this time, I feel like this. When I go to bed and get enough this amount of sleep, I feel like that. And then I came across this thing, and it was like, yeah, because projectors, they need that rest. If they're not rested, this, you know, they're gonna be malfunctioning and all of that. So it's on so many layers, on so many levels, but on a very practical level. And that's what I really like about it. Because as much as I'm a dreamer, I need anchors in, you know, quote unquote reality.
Yeah, I feel you. I think for me, watching you dive deeper into your energetic archetype. I love how you put things together to move through this place, and also in particular to navigate your creative journey. That's one of the things that I think human design has been really helpful for you, especially after having done your reading. You were my first client when I started coming out into the world as a human design doula. And you, last December, we spent an enormous amount of time on Zoom going through your design. And one of the things that was so unique, I think for both of us, when we discovered that your authority was a sounding board authority, and how when you went back as we were talking and I was pointing things out, because you were like, no, I'm not, are you sure? And I was like, yes, I'm sure. I ran the chart and it came up as this. And we started looking through your life for examples of that. And when the light bulb went on, it was like, it was huge. So I wanted to ask you, what did you find was valuable about working with someone and doing a reading for yourself? Because you had done one yourself, and then we took a deeper dive into it together.
Yeah. For me, it was clarity. You know, it brought more clarity and having someone to bounce off and to mirror with. Because initially, and I don't know what happened to this day, but I put my details in on the official website, and the reading that came up, that's what I'd been working with. And the resonance was still strong, you know? And so, and the inner authority then was splenic. So I was like, okay, but then when you came to do, like you did the reading and you came back, I was like, that threw me. Because I felt like, okay, I'm settled into this thing and this is what it is for me. But when you said that, it kind of just busted open, and I was like, oh, is that right? Do you know what I mean? And so I had to go back and check it again. But then even in that moment, it made sense. That's what I'm saying. It just affirms things, because leading up to that point, that, you know, over the past, was it? So that was probably like a 2-year period. The amount of times that I kept getting compliments and feedback from people about my voice, it was really, really like, it kept happening. You know, I'd be at work, somebody says this, you know, I go elsewhere, you know, I'll wherever I am, somebody has something to say about my voice. And so when you came with that, I was like, and I connected that, and I'm like, okay, resonance, sounding board. Mm-hmm. And again, it confirmed how I tend to operate, because I generally don't seek outside counsel, mm-hmm. you know? And so I'm like, okay, after the reading, I went back and I looked into it, and it was saying, yeah, your voice is your inner authority, and mm-hmm. you're using your voice and you're speaking to other people, and you're doing that as a sounding board, but you're not trying to get their opinion. Mm-hmm. You're listening to the reflection of your own voice and the intonation and the little nuances that are going to tell you if what you're saying is right for you or not, mm-hmm. depending on how what's revealed in the tone of your voice. Mm. And I'm like, okay. Again, that makes a whole lot of sense, because I tend to keep my own counsel and just sit with things and just be present with it and let it reveal itself. Mm-hmm. But this was asking me to use my voice with other people. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, cool. So, because everybody doesn't have the full context of who you are as a being. So their advice, you know, might be just their own projection, and it might not be right for you. Do you know what I'm saying? Even with the best of intentions. So this again, it was just like another affirmation, like, okay, like you know what I haven't said is that what I love probably the most about human design as an air sign, as a Gemini. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we can, you know, we're Mercury, and, you know what I mean, we can do the head thing all day and all night. You know what I'm saying? But what I love about human design is it's all about the wisdom of the body. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the wisdom mm-hmm. of the body, and your body is going to tell, mm-hmm. or it's going to tell on you. Mm-hmm. But it's got truth. Do you know what I'm saying? So you're really listening to the wisdom of your body, because as they say in that world, is that the mind is great for revision, mm-hmm. you know, for replaying things, for analysis and all of that. But as a decision maker, not so great. Mm-hmm. And I know in my life, for a long period, as a safety mechanism, I was operating from a headspace. Mm-hmm. And that meant operating from a headspace meant suppressing or ignoring the body's wisdom, because the intuition is a gut thing, mm-hmm. you know? And so I would then ignore the intuition and then find the rationale in my head. And then later on, the events would play out exactly as the intuition had said in the beginning. So this was kind of like confirming, like, yeah, you need to listen to your own intuition. You need to listen to your gut and trust yourself, because there's wisdom in your body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is, because one of the things that you preach and what you've preached to me is embody the body.
Nah, for
You
real.
know, like for real, like all, facts. It's like that's one of the things when we think about practices and cultivating our relationship with ourself from the inside out. You have spent an enormous amount of time with practices that connect you to your body. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and you're invested in that and continue to be invested in that, from the yoga asanas to the breath to your vocal work,
Calisthenics.
calisthenics. Can't forget that.
Me.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, he's building his body. um, but with the food that you eat, the the liquids that you take, the water, everything that you put into your body, how you care for it, um, all of that.
Minerals.
The minerals, yeah, like the vitamins, all of that, the nutrients, everything. We laugh and joke between ourselves, but it's real. It's
Yeah.
very, very real. And to be able to have affirmation and clarity and um, and a greater understanding of who you are as a being, a divine being, walking this earth with these creative gifts, is one of the greatest gifts that we can give to ourselves and take advantage of. Um, I want to find out from you, what are some of the practices, the resources, and the communities that you are using now to support your understanding and practice of your energetic archetype, the projector with the sounding board in human design.
Practices, resources.
And yeah, any practices, resources, or communities that you may be using, like books.
Yeah. Well, number one, it's the practice of practicing, the integration. So that's the first thing, is like once you recognize, okay, what your energy archetype is, and then okay, knowing it is one thing, but practicing it. And so, especially because I felt so in tune with that archetype, so I'm like, okay, let me put this to work. And it happens in meetings at work. I practice awaiting the invitation. Everybody speaks and they have what they say, what they have to say. And then somebody says, Garnet, what are your thoughts on this? And then when I have that invitation, it's like I have all the ears, instead of like trying to interject and, people talk over each other and stuff, you know what I mean? So the actual day-to-day practicing this, and also just recognizing the invitations, both internally and externally, because the ideas that come are the internal invitations. And then also practicing discernment. And it's like, okay, is this the right thing for me? Or it might be the right thing for me, but not right this moment. Do you know what I'm saying? So practice of discernment, which is something that you said to me years ago. You said this statement, man, discernment is a gift, and it still resonates to this day. And I still live by that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Bars.
Straight bars, man. You know what I mean? And as a barologist, I appreciate fire bars. So I do hold on to it. Resources. This is something that you put me onto. This is a book by Evelyn Levinson, and it's called Becoming an Empowered Projector.
Mm-hmm.
you know, thrive with wisdom and guidance from human design. And again, it's one of those things that you told me about this book and I ordered it straight away. I went on Amazon. I was like, okay. I read the blurb. I'm like, all right, I'm in. I got the book. And again, it's just confirming things for me, you know, because one of the things about my archetype is that we're old souls. And I've known that since I was yay high. But in you know, becoming a bit removed from that, this is kind of like the reintegration now of like, yo, I'm an old soul, man. Like I've been here before, and this, none of this really feels new. It feels as if like, yo, come back to yourself. This is whom you truly are, you know, and all of the intuitive guidance and gifts that you sense are real. Because especially in a world that's really not wired toward that, you know, it's a very much a headspace.
Yeah.
So this is like working from the inside out. So this is helped me, resources and practices like that help me to really stand in that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like it's being a tree, you know, with all the elements and all the things that come and the news cycles and the drama and of life and everything, and just being rooted in who I am and just being like, all right, cool, just let it pass. And just, I might sway in the wind sometimes, you know what I mean? But I don't fall down, man. I stay rooted. And also having community like yourself to be able to just commune, reflect, share, you know what I mean? That's really pivotal as well, man, because I feel like life is a hall of mirrors, you know? I feel like the more mirrors you have, the more clearly you can see yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you've been one of those mirrors for me, man. So yeah.
Oh,
that's how it's helped me to nurture.
Yeah. So good to hear that. You know, as you were talking and you were talking about earlier about how it's helping you to respond in meetings and this invitation only, I've listened to you over the last year talk with gratitude and excitement and joy about how using your strategy as a projector energy archetype, because I like how that works, in your own creative practice with your music, with your beats, with different projects that you're exploring now and into the new year. And so can you walk folks through, like, how does that look in your life when you're using that strategy? If you have any examples that you feel comfortable sharing with the public right now, because I know how you is. You discuss stuff like you tight on stuff, y'all. And this,
listen, man,
you tight on stuff. It's like locked up. It's like, and then you look up and it's on Instagram, or it's like, boom, it's some video or whatever, you know. Like,
nah, man.
Yeah.
I tell you what it is. The word that came up as you came toward the end of that question is ease. You know, ease. Like, I like ease in my life. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't like strife. I'm not, you know, I'm not into the whole like buying into or being married to the struggle. Do you know what I'm saying? Even though that like there's a lot of residue of that in me, you know? But it's ease because I'm operating again like from inside out. And that's where I feel most empowered, you know? So for example, I went to a gig in the summer, you know, reggae is my happy space, my first happy space musically. I go to this gig, they're playing the kind of reggae that I want to hear. I took some footage of it, I posted it on my Instagram, and then the venue DM'd me and said, "Oh, do you mind sending us the video?" And I'm like, "Yeah, cool." I sent it to them, and they were like, "Oh, we checked out your bio, and we see that you wear many different hats. So just to let you know, the venue is, you know, it's available for various, you know, uses." So, boom. Now, because I'm thinking about human design, I'm thinking about being a projector. I'm like, that's an invitation. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so I've already had a seed in my mind. Like I had envisioned like an event with this color and people just vibing to some great music and just coming together, and it's all love and it's all just beautiful like that. So that was the invitation. So I'm like, oh, but recognizing it and saying, that's an invitation. Cool. So, you know, long story short, I arranged to go down there, have a look at the space, meet the people down there, and then we got into a conversation about this event. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like me acting on an invitation. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, so this is really real. Mm-hmm. You know, because in the past I might have beat myself up because I felt like, oh, maybe I'm being too passive. Mm-hmm. But human design helped me to completely reframe that and recognize that actually, nah, that's just how you move. Mm-hmm. You know, like it's being discerning because everything ain't for me. Yeah. And I like that's how I am as a person anyway. Like I don't want to really be involved in anything that I can't genuinely bring my full self into. Mm-hmm. You know, so now I can look at those opportunities that present themselves, and they turn up in all arenas. You know, professionally, romantically, creatively. You know, I had an invitation the other week, you know, about, you know, a bunch of producers hooking up and you know, working on some stuff, but it just didn't feel right for me. Mm-hmm. You know, so I'm like, cool, nah, that's not for me. So I like operating this way. It's like, again, it's like a manual, you know what I'm saying? And you're actually like putting the manual into practice by going, yeah, I'll do this, I won't do that. You know, that's an invitation there. You know what I mean? And you can weigh things up and be discerning, and like, because you're acting from the inside out, it's on you and your body's wisdom, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's a very empowering place to be, you know, because then you don't end up just like doing everything and chasing everything and just like a headless chicken. You know what I'm saying? Like you can be more like you know, instead of being scattergun, you could be more like precise. Mm-hmm. You know, because then when those projects come that, you know, those invitations do come and they're the right ones, then you can fully invest your energy, you know, rather than doing like a little bit here, a little bit there, and there's no real quality in any of it, you know what I'm saying? And it doesn't, that's the word, operating this way based on the human design framework is very fulfilling. Mm. Yeah. And that's a huge thing for me, you know, is fulfillment. Like I want to feel fulfilled, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I want to bring fulfilled energy into everything I do, you know? So,
yeah. So this isn't something that we said we were going to chat about, but because it's about me, and I feel like this is a good time for me to start talking about a project that we have been working on. And you have, I feel like after learning your inner, your archetypes energy, your energetic archetype as a projector, I feel like it makes a lot of sense to how you've been able to support me and my creativity through this music project that we've been working on. And even though my part is the piece that is in process, that's what I'm going to call it. Some of it has been procrastination.
Let the record show.
Let the record show that it's been Ananda's procrastination and her process. You have been the music producer of a body of work that started coming to me through the ancestors, my loving, wise, and well ancestors, in 2020. And I sent you some things. It started with my sound bowls, and then it grew into a body of work. And I want to have you reflect on how has it been useful for you to tap into any skills as a projector in navigating the journey with me as a manifesting generator who is multi-passionate and has a lot of different things going on at different times. You've been able to do that in a wonderful way.
Yeah, but you know, the reason for that is there's a synergy between those two archetypes, and the way of working has really been very comfortable for me. You know what I mean? Because number one, it was only in hindsight that I look back and I was like, oh wow, that was an invitation. And the thing about the projector archetype is that the invitation is not just an invitation, it's very specific. And that's how you know, like, oh, this is for you. And at the time, I hadn't done a commission in a long time. So I was kind of like, okay, cool. You asked me to do a theme song for you. And then I was kind of like, oh, well, what now? I've accepted it. You know what I mean? I'm sat there in front of my keyboard like, oh,
that's not scary to me now.
But it's like, okay, but I got this idea, or should I go with this idea or whatever? And I remember you came and you said, like, just show up as you are. You know what I mean? Which was another wisdom bar that you dropped on me, and I was like, okay, cool. And also the conversation kind of just cemented the fact that, oh, she trusts me. To just, because you was like, this is the rough idea of the kind of thing that I'm looking for, and I know your taste, and I know you'll tell me if something's whack. And because I'm like, I'm trying to not hold back, like, but you see me, and it was a very specific thing. So I'm like, oh, she completely, oh, okay, cool. So that gave me the freedom to just go ahead and do that. And I felt like, okay, I know you well enough that I feel like this sounds like how I see this person coming out, you know, you know what I mean? And you can't, so it was it was that was really cool, and it was a great learning experience because again, boom, here comes this invitation, and this invitation is very specific to me as an individual. And I'm like, okay, cool, I accept that. And then what I produced out of that, then it grew, and then more invitations kept coming from you, like, oh, I got two more ideas, and you would come with, okay, here's a one-line description and a title. And then again, the specifics of it, like, you're trusting me to specifically, like, okay, just do your thing. I trust you to do what you're doing. And then another 3 came, and then another 2 came, and it was like, okay. And then you dropped the bomb on me, and you said, like, oh, I want this to be an album. I actually, want to put this out as an album. I'm like, oh, okay. But I guess it makes sense. It's a natural, it's an organic, evolution of the process. And it's been really, it's that ease again. There was a lot of ease involved, great synergy. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's what sums it up for me, like, out of this process, just this ease and synergy, and then to recognize, like, oh wow, this actually, what's come out of it feels right. And knowing how I can be like that, and that's why I like working this way, because I think if I work in other ways, I'm gonna be rushed, and I'm gonna end up doing stuff that I don't like. But this, I leave it for months at a time, and I come back and I listen to it, and it's still holding up. So
just waiting for
over to you.
Yeah, waiting for my words. But the thing that and I appreciate you sharing that piece of it. The part that I want folks to know, like in terms of projectors, the projectors that are around me, including Marilyn, you all play a role as a coach, as a guide. And especially in the moments, the long moments where I have not trusted my voice. I have had my own thoughts in stuff come up to stop me. And I would leave you voice notes on WhatsApp, and you would be like, where is this? Is this what you waiting on? What is it? This sounds like this could be on the album, like. And you had like a really, there was tough love, but there was also guidance in that, in the conversations that we've had, and you walking me through as a I think it's more than a producer. I mean, as a creativity coach, because I've had serious doubts about if my words are relevant. And you've been like, not just because you know and love me as your sister, but because you recognize the divinity and the creativity that's wrapped up in what I'm called to share. But how, like, as a coach, because a lot of people come to you for guidance and guiding and coaching, whether they know it or not, whether you know it or not, it's a role that you play.
Right.
And creative people in particular.
Yeah. And I was just about to get into that, because again, coming across human design, it kind of just helped me to make sense of a lot of things like that. Because the projector is more like, they see the big picture. They're like the director on the film set, and they see straight through. It's like a searing thing. And so Marilyn has been an amazing kind of role model, you know, because that's part of what projectors are. They're role models, you know what I'm saying? And we're here to be a role model just by being.
Facts.
You know what I mean? And so then when I look back at my whole life, and it's like, yeah, for real, like even like all the way back to primary school, people have always come for guidance or some kind of advice or whatever, or people just seem to, yeah, just assume this role. You know what I mean? But then when I discovered the system and the projector archetype, I was like, okay, this is the thing. This makes complete sense. This is part of the role. You know what I mean? And that's been the case with you, because there's again, it's like that searing vision, like seeing the person, like really seeing them, you know? So you see through whatever projections they're having about themselves, you know, the doubt and the questioning of like, is this, you know, the thing? But like, we're able to see that, see right through that, and just be like, nah, like because those poems that you sent, you know, on voice note, it's like, that's why I'm like, yo, you're so prolific, man. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's really prolific, but it's so on point. You know, what the things that you're saying are like really just, it just hits the target, you know? And Coleman said it don't take a whole day to recognize sunshine, and that's all it is. It's the projector thing of maintaining a certain level of, well, it's not even a certain level, it's complete integrity. so there's no bullshit allowed. It can't. There's that filter, and that's you mentioned earlier about the filter, and that filter is very, very clear. Like the bullshit detection is very on point as well. So if some things come through and it's like, yeah, that's good. That's it. There ain't no like two ways about it, or like there's not, nah. If it's whack, nah, that's not it. But I can also recognize what might be, what might need improving about it. And that's actually, that feeds into, because then that's how I've always been in the studio. Yeah. Naturally. You know, coaxing performances out of various rappers or singers or poets or whoever. You know what I mean? Because it's being able to see the person, understand what they're trying to convey, and then just coaching them to carve that out, you know? And this is what's happened with us remotely.
Yeah. And that's really that's one of the blessings from the pandemic years, is our connection is growing into now creative expansion, and I can see it going in so many different ways. And I want to dip our toe into a conversation about finding your voice. You're wearing a beautiful sweatshirt by Mary, and
your voice.
Yeah, and you can talk a bit about Mary, so we give Mary a shout out, and then I want to talk about your defined centers. Just in general, you have a defined center like myself, the head center, the which is the mind, the third eye, and then you're the throat. And it is the throat center that I really want to explore a little bit with you, because you had an experience. You've always been told or asked, do you do spoken word? And and you've had an aversion. You were like, I don't do that. I'm
strong aversion.
I'm an MC. However, with this defined throat, you've been like, in our conversations in the last year and a half, since I did your reading, since I did the human design reading for you in December last year, you have had less resistance to the poetry. I'm not asking you to share it, but I noticed that this year alone, I've seen you find your voice and share it publicly more often than I have ever seen in the 16 years, 17 years that I've known you. And
that's saying a lot, right?
And that's saying a lot. And that's recent. Recently, you shared something on Instagram where I was like, oh, okay. So tell us about Miri and Find Your Voice. And then let's dive into the throat center on your throat.
Okay, so Miri is a very good friend of mine who is a singer, songwriter here in London. And she has a brand which I'm wearing tonight. It's called Find Your Voice, you know, hoodies, t-shirts, you know, you name it. And she does vocal workshops as well, which I've also had the pleasure of, you know, being coached by Miri. It's a really powerful thing because it's something that is definitely related to, you know, using your voice as a creative, but just finding your voice in life, you know. And I think that takes time, man. And that's really all this is kind of everything that I've been working on in the shadows, you know, has been about finding my voice. And so when you do see, and because you know how I am, when I do share something like that, like I did on Insta the other day, you know that's official, because nothing comes out unless I'm I'm happy with it and I'm feeling it. And I have to say, you know, there were some points in there that I thought, that could be tweaked or whatever, but I put it out because I recognize as well, as part of the projector archetype, it's about authenticity, not perfection. So that take is not 100% perfection, but it's alive. You know, it's a moment. And yeah, so there's been a huge growth in that way. And a lot of that is to do with acceptance, self-acceptance. Mm-hmm. Because what you might not know is that verse is very old. And I didn't change a word. I recognize that. I didn't change a word in it because when it came out, it's very stream of consciousness. You know, I've been asked by a couple of people, is that a freestyle? Because that's how it comes off in how I'm delivering it. But I don't know, I channeled that. It just came through. It was very stream of consciousness. And at the time, I'm like, okay, cool. That's like a first draft, but I'll go back to it and then I'll tweak it and I'll do this and I'll do this. And it's just one of those that just got put in the stash. But then I found it the other day. And as I feel more empowered in my voice, having found my voice now, and, you know, I'm comfortable with that. And it was the delivery in my own voice. Mm-hmm. Because then I listened. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and I said, "Listen, I didn't edit that. I didn't change not even a word in it. Mm-hmm. But having found my voice, that's what made the difference, and that's a huge, that's a great segue into the throat thing, because that's always been an area of challenge for me. And that's really about not feeling as if what you have to say is valid. Yeah. Or that it's accepted. You know what I mean? And so you kind of like tippy-toe around and you don't really use your throat. You know what I mean? And that's the difference now, is that those open centers, it's like a line, and it's throat, what is it, third eye?
Third eye, yeah. And your mind, your crown, and they're defined centers. So that means that's what you are most known for. That's how you're showing up. It's the undefined centers, the open centers, where we might have growth opportunities. I like to say that's where the wisdom lives in the body. And for you to see that, like when I saw your chart and I saw that was it, and I was like, of course he is, because look at who this person is, this creative Gemini, who communicates. I mean, the blue zone, if you will. I mean, it don't get no Mercury, the planet Mercury, don't get no deeper than that. Master communicator in many ways, but having the affirmation of a defined throat center. How is that for you? Like, or does it have an impact for you? Does it just add to, who you see yourself as?
How does that add?
Okay. How does it spice up your life? That's it. How does it spice up your life?
Spices up my life through resonance, man. I remember one night I came home recently and I was just verbalizing all these thoughts and feelings. And then it hit me and I was like, this is my authority in action, man. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Because it's more, I'm very cerebral. So that would happen internally. Do you know what I'm saying? And my inner world is very rich, and the inner dialogue is constant. But actually letting that out gives it a totally different dimension, which I hadn't really explored. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm here talking to myself in my full voice, as like I'm talking to you now. And it's like I'm tuned into the reverberation of that, and like, oh wow, okay. And I can hear how the tone sounds when I speak about certain things. And I'm like, yeah, you're not really feeling that. You know what I mean? Or yeah, that's the one. That, do you know what I'm saying? And it's a different dimension because, like I said before, I keep my own counsel and I have my internal dialogue, but this is a different thing. And I noticed in my affirmations, I think using this system, what it's done is really awakened me, made me present to, it's given labels to things. Yeah. So now, like I especially like I do my affirmations in the shower in the mornings. And what I recognized was it would change my vibration. And I could also feel heat. So it's like my voice reverberating off the tiles. And then I would feel this heat in my chest area. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, wow, so I really have to watch what I say. You know what I'm saying? Because if
Mm-hmm.
that's my inner authority, like I can't play around. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And I know, you know, in earlier times in my life where that internal dialogue I had so much self-flagellation, you know what I'm saying? It was kind of like it's the 180 now,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I actually find that I can talk myself out of those kind of, you know, circular thoughts or
Mm-hmm.
negative thoughts or whatever. And I feel like when I do that, when I use my voice, it changes the dynamic. It changes the air in the room, like in this room, or if I'm in the shower or whatever, like it changes the energy.
Yeah.
And I didn't recognize that before, seeing it through the lens of human design, you know, and I fully embrace it, man, because it's part of the body's wisdom.
Yeah.
And it helps you to be in tune with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So it's very empowering.
Yeah. I think that one of the byproducts of your spicing up your life with your throat, your defined throat, and your sounding board authority, and you just knowing and in experimenting, because that's what one of the things human design calls you to do is to experiment with it. It's like, look, we got all this information now. You gotta play with this in your life. You
Mm-hmm.
gotta see if this
Yeah,
works for you. Like,
yeah,
and every energetic archetype is different, and each person has a different take on it, and no one person is the same. That's why it's a human design, you know, that's
yeah,
why it's unique. And
yeah.
so you can read all the books, listen to all the podcasts, follow all the folks on social media, attend conferences, whatever, watch videos. um, at the end of the day, you have to get down with it and explore it in your own way and check in with yourself. And one of the things that has been of great joy to watch as a human design doula is how it's manifesting in your life and how it ends up blessing others. And one of the things that your gift to us as a result of integrating this energetic archetype tool in your life is the creativity that you share, the conversations that you have um, with Stewart in Jackson, George, on IG in the Blue Zone on Sundays at 6:30 UK time, 6:30 p.m. UK time, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for those that are like myself. That those conversations that I've been able to participate in have just been mind blowing, you know, heart blowing, spirit blowing. It's been like, and sometimes I'm only able to zoom, you know, to zoom in for you know, a couple of minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, and it's you're dropping, you know, gems. Like it's just powerful to hear you both share your journey in real time as creatives, as folks that are choosing to redefine how you show up in this three-dimension world, in this capitalist white supremacy patriarchal systems that we are in. How you're choosing to say this is the world that I'm creating, and I'm in this society, in this system, but I'm not, but and I am not of it, you know, and that I'm using a buffet of tools, and human design is one of those dishes on the buffet that's,
Wow,
you know,
was, was.
spicing it up, and spicing it up for those that are able to witness and partake of the buffet that we see with you. And so the creative expression that you've been sharing, the music that you've been producing, some things I get to hear, some things other people find. Sometimes it just shows the freak up on SoundCloud. And I'm like, yo, Negro. I use some other words. When was this? You know, you know, stuff will pop up and I was like, oh, you at it again. You ain't announcing nothing. Oh, okay. You know, you're not gonna announce it. You're just gonna, you know, that's just your thing. And I'm gonna get with you on it anyway. But your public sharing is one of the, you know, your level of comfort with sharing publicly has been a result of you tapping into this defined throat center and your sounding board. I definitely, for, you know, in this last year and a half, yeah. And I would also say too, that you have a personal practice, a creative practice now that you are doing on your own just to honor your craft. And how is that supporting your defined center, or how is the craft practice on a daily or regular basis?
It's been amazing, man, because it's actually really, really helping with affirming my own creative voice, you know? So it came out of a Blue Zone session, you know, one Sunday evening with me and Stuart, and we was talking about, you know, working full-time jobs, and he was about to step into something full-time, and it's like, okay, you're gonna have to now create that time for whatever it is, you know. It's your creative endeavors. And so I laid the gauntlet down, man. I was like, okay, well, let's do this. Let's put down this challenge. Let's try and, you know, find that 2-hour space, a 2-hour window during the week that you can commit to, your creative practice. And that was about 6 weeks ago now. And it's been an amazing experience for me because it's really helped me to like chisel away at some things, to explore my writing, and to really appreciate my own creative voice. Lots of things that before I would have like more, you know, I would do that more sporadically. And you lose momentum with that, or you don't build any momentum with that. And building this momentum is having me look at my work under the microscope every day. You know, at least during the working week is five days. And it's really strengthened my own self-confidence and my belief in my own voice, you know, and just recognizing what makes my thing unique and what makes it me, you know. For example, there was a period during the early 2000s where rap was getting more and more technical, you know. It was more about the technical intricacy and, you know, technical proficiency of like, okay, look how many internal rhyme schemes I could put together and how many syllables I can pack into a bar and all this kind of stuff. And then my intuition was just like, nah. And I veered off. You know what I mean? I veered off from that because it just didn't interest me. It didn't move me because it was all head. And it was losing the heart and soul, like the feel. And so now when I can come back and I look at stuff that I was doing then and prior to that, and I'm like, yo, it's all there. And I'm so glad that I did that. You know what I mean? I didn't like just go with the flow of what was happening.
Yeah.
I trusted my own gut, and I was like, nah, I ain't really feeling that though. It's cool, and I can appreciate it, but it doesn't move me. It doesn't make me go like, oh, let me go back and listen to that because I enjoy it. You know what I mean? And so now I look back at these verses and I'm like cleaning them up, and all of these things, like my voice is there.
Yes.
You know, the way that I wrote, like the piece I posted up the other day, it was like, it starts off as if, because it's a stream of consciousness, it's like you just jumped into my head, like you changed the channel, and it starts there instead of like, once upon a time, blah, 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 and very like, because I have an aversion to linearity. That's the other thing. And so, but then I would always see what I was saying earlier about this has really helped me to work inside out before I'm looking at the marketplace and I'm looking at what's going on and I'm like, oh, but I don't do that. And so who's the audience for what I do? Do you know what I'm saying? Does anybody care about this style anymore? Do you know what I'm saying? And I was kind of letting that dictate, you know, what I, not so much what I did. It was like, okay, well, I just won't do anything because nobody cares about this, you know what I mean? Because I look at the marketplace, but now I look at what's coming from within me, and this is your voice. This is how you do it. And it calls for you to be courageous in trusting your own process. You know, because there are influences, but there isn't a direct reference point that you can say, okay, well, yeah, it sounds like this. No, it sounds like you. And because of that, like, it takes courage.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? To really go, okay, well, I'm going to put myself out there as me. You know what I mean? But the empowering thing about that is like, that means that you're coming from your heart.
There it is.
And that's all that matters to me when it's all said and done. You know, is to be felt more so than intellectually understood.
And on that one, we're gonna put a pin in that, because that's a whole nother conversation. And
next episode. Blink,
right.
Blink, 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 blink,
it
blink.
It really is. And it's so beautiful that you said that, because what Garnet is sharing is what I have been called to do with Thriving Mindfully, as a heart-centered approach to being present well in the real you in your life, relationships, and career. And it is through this this energy, empowerment, INPORERMENT tool, that I've been able to have the courage to use my defined throat, coupled with checking in with my gut as a manifesting generator, energetic archetype inside of me, to be able to have the courage to know that I am relevant at 57 going on 58, with blue glasses and wigs in her bedroom waiting to be worn, and all kinds of ideas and ancestral medicine wisdom showing on my drawings at any given time, you know, in addition to everything else that is going on. And so we're sharing from our hearts, and pulling things from our lives and our creative journey, so that whoever listens is inspired to get still, to be soft as fuck, slow down, and offer yourself freedom today and every day, starting with your breath, tuning into what Garnet has said: the body has wisdom. but you can't access it if you don't get still, if you don't take the time. And then looking at if this tool called human design is something that you feel called to explore. It may not be. There may be something else that is singing to your heart, that's calling you to explore. I can't tell you what that is, but exploring what feels right for you to help you move through this space, to help you spice up your life. That's what we're talking about. Use what works best for you. Don't follow us. Do you, boo? So with that, I wanna close out our conversation. This will not be the last time that we do this and that we talk about our journey with human design. Garnet, do you have anything that you want folks to know that you are working on? Any invitations you want to make for folks, and then how people can reach you on social media, your SoundCloud site, and any other sites?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of music to come, as in there's a vault of music. So one of those is the Jackson George project, which is myself and Mr. Stuart George. We have an album that will be forthcoming. There's also this project here between myself and Ananda.
Thriving Mindfully as the real you.
Thriving Mindfully as the real you. That's also forthcoming. Both those projects, all the music is done. And so it's other elements that need to be added and completed, to bring it to fruition. So there's lots of music, and I know that's just two projects. I'm not even gonna mention like my own solo stuff for now, but those two are at like the forefront. So just tune in on IG, which is Quantum Quarantino, and yeah, just watch this space. You can also tune into my SoundCloud, which is Garnet J, for a little taste of this buffet. I like this metaphor that you've been running with this episode. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's a smorgasbord of music to come. So just dip in, you know what I mean? Go to the finger buffet, have a little nibble, and just know that, we in the kitchen, man, and we're going to be serving soon.
All right. And can you tell everybody again about the Blue Zone and when it comes on Instagram Live?
And so the Blue Zone is every Sunday. It's myself and Stuart George as Jackson George. And like I say, we shoot the breeze and we talk about life and spirituality and music and everything in between. And that's Sundays, 6:30 p.m. UK time. That's Greenwich Mean Time. And yeah, however that works with your time, wherever you are in the world, please feel free to join us. You're welcome, to join in and contribute to the convo.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for just spending so much time with us today with the Thriving Mindfully podcast family. We appreciate you, and everybody tune in for some special messages that are coming up next about how we might work together with me as your human design doula or your Thriving Mindfully coach. So stay tuned.
Peace.
Your invited to attend the Soft as Fuck December Circle on understanding yourself with ancestral medicine and human design. This circle will be offered on December 10th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as December 14th at 8 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The investment is $33. You can get more information and register at anandaleeke.com/soft. That's anandaleeke.com/soft. SOFT. See you in the circle. One of the best ways to develop your own understanding of human design is by getting a reading, by getting a coaching session. And so that's what I'm offering as your human design doula. Go to anandaleeke.com/human design to learn how we can work together. Thanks for tuning in to the Thriving Mindfully podcast. If you're ready to be inspired and empowered with my coaching support, join me in the Thriving Mindfully Academy. Visit anandaleeke.com/academy. Now, if you're ready to dive deeper and move past your comfort zone with my one-on-one coaching program, book a discovery call with me today. Visit anandaleeke.com. If you need something juicy to read, check out my 3 mindfulness books: Love's Troubadours, a self-love and yoga-inspired novel; That Which Awakens Me, a mindful creativity memoir; and Digital Sisterhood, a mindful technology memoir. Go to anandaleeke.com/books. All of my books are available on Amazon.com. Well, that about wraps us up. And as I always like to say, may we all continue to embrace thriving mindfully in everything that we think, feel, say, and do. See you next time.